Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to LongWalker's Friday edition, Factual Fridays. So I thought, what more fitting than to go over Valentine's Day? I've got a hour-long video of like horror stories from Valentine's Day, so I thought that would be cool to go over.
And I'm
And then,
here full of factual information about the actual origins of Valentine's Day because it is often misconstrued as a pagan holiday, and it isn't.
exactly, my awesome wife here will definitely give everybody information that they probably didn't know.
So I'll put some little tidbits in there to begin with. So
yeah.
I guess to start us off with, a lot of people, I guess, they think about the Roman holiday Lupercalia, which has the root of that is wolf. It was celebration of wolves because the city was supposed to be founded by wolves.
Yes.
Romulus and Remus were supposed to have been raised by a she wolf, and that was the origin of Rome. Romulus,
Yeah.
So Lupercalia was supposed to be the celebration of that. Ironically, it is actually also at the height of wolf breeding season, so that's pretty interesting also. But it really doesn't have anything to do with Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, so a little bit later on, we will talk about the actual origin of Valentine's Day, somewhere midstream or something.
Okay, sounds good.
But for right now, yeah, that's all I have to say is Lupercalia is usually conflicted with Valentine's Day just because around the time of year that it happens.
Yeah, and so that's why they just try to say that that's what it is.
Right, but it is, and it is not a pagan holiday. It's actually one of the most Christian holidays that I've ever heard of. So,
yes,
there we go. But
the more you know.
The more you know. All right, let me get rid of this banner right here. And let's do a presentation. Share screen. This is the one? Yeah.
No. I mean, it will be, don't worry. I have to get to it. It will not let me get rid of these ones.
You don't want those?
There's two. I don't want. I want the hour-long one only.
Okay.
It wouldn't let me get rid of those top two for some reason.
Okay. You better stay paused, you little... Okay.
Little bugger.
Let me come over here. See, that's what I don't want. I don't want... Hold on. Add to stage. Add to stage.
You're giving our audience a big old show, aren't you?
I don't know. I'm not able to do this right now. There we go. Right?
Yes, that's
Can you hear us?
Hello? Yeah.
Okay. So
sounds good.
I will mute this.
Okay.
It all started a few days before February 14th. Ava, my girlfriend of 3 years, had been acting off. At first it was subtle. Slower replies to my messages, shorter responses, a general distance that wasn't like her. Ava was the kind of person who texted back immediately, even if she was busy. She always made time for me, always sent me cute little check-ins throughout the day. Did you eat yet? Or hope your day isn't too crazy. But then the messages changed. They were cold, distant, sloppy. Ava never made typos. She was meticulous about that. She once told me she couldn't stand seeing misplaced commas or bad grammar, even in casual conversation. But suddenly, her texts were full of them. At first, I told myself she was just stressed. Work had been insane for her lately, and I figured maybe she was overwhelmed. But the more I tried to ignore it, the more my gut twisted. So, I finally asked her about it. Hey, are you okay? You seem different. Her response was almost immediate, as if she'd been waiting for me to notice. I'm fine, babe, just exhausted. Let's meet up on Valentine's Day, okay? I promise I'll make it up to you. She even added a heart emoji, and I wanted to believe her. I woke up feeling lighter. Whatever was going on with Ava, we'd fix it tonight. I went all out. picked up flowers, grabbed her favorite dark chocolates, even made a reservation at Marcello's, this intimate little Italian place we both love. Everything was set. Tonight would be perfect. Then I got the text. I'm in the shower, doors unlocked. Come in and wait for me. Love you. Something about it felt wrong. Ava never left her door unlocked. Ever. She was paranoid about safety, triple checking locks, keeping a security camera outside her apartment, even carrying pepper spray on her keychain. She never would have invited me in like that. My stomach tightened, but I told myself I was overthinking. Maybe she was just trying to be romantic. Maybe this was her way of apologizing for being distant. I pushed the thought aside and drove over, but the second I stepped inside, I knew something was very, very wrong. The air was heavy, thick, the kind of silence that isn't really silence, the kind that makes your skin prickle because you just know something is off. The only sound was the faint running water from the bathroom. Ava, I called out. No answer. I set the flowers down on the counter and took a few cautious steps in. That's when I noticed the dining table. A plate of food sat there, untouched. A candle, completely melted down into a puddle of wax, had clearly been burning for hours. A shiver crawled up my spine. Something was wrong. I moved toward the bathroom, my hands suddenly clammy. The air was humid, thick with steam that curled under the door frame. I knocked softly. Ava? No response. Then the water shut off. For a moment, all I could hear was my own breathing. The door creaked open. Steam poured out in dense waves, and then I saw him. A tall, gaunt man stood there, wearing Ava's dress. My mind couldn't process what I was seeing. His face, or rather, the skin on his face, was stitched together, sagging in loose, unnatural folds. His lips were twisted into a grotesque smile, and his hair, Ava's dark curls, was glued in uneven patches to his scalp. I stumbled back, my stomach lurching. What the Who? My words died in my throat. The man took a slow step forward. What are you talking about, love? He murmured, his voice sickly sweet. It's me. It's Ava. My entire body locked up in terror. Where is she? My voice was barely a whisper. His smile widened. I told you, babe, right here. I bolted for the door, but he was too fast. His long fingers wrapped around my wrist, nails digging in, piercing my skin. You're scared, he whispered, tilting his head. That's okay. Love is scary sometimes. I yanked away, stumbling backward, desperate for an escape. But then I heard it, a wet, dragging sound from the hallway. My entire body went rigid. The bedroom door, which had been closed before, was slightly open now. Something moved inside. I didn't want to look, but I had to. I pushed the door open, and the smell hit me first. Rotting flesh, thick, putrid, clinging to my throat. And then I saw her, Ava, or what was left of her. She was propped up against the bed, dressed in the outfit she'd planned to wear that night. Her head tilted at an impossible angle, her lips parted like she was about to speak. Her skin, God, her skin, was gone in places, peeled away in gruesome strips. I choked on a scream. Behind me, the man sighed. I worked so hard for this, you know. For us. For love. I turned just as he lunged. I don't remember much after that, just the feeling of flesh tearing, my hands wet with something thick and warm. By the time the police arrived, I was covered in blood. They found his body, but they never figured out who he was. His fingerprints? No matches. His face? Well, that wasn't really his face, was it? And they found Ava. I was cleared. Self-defense, they called it. Said I was lucky to be alive, but luck had nothing to do with it because every year on Valentine's Day, I get the same text. I'm in the shower, doors unlocked, come in and wait for me, love you. I moved cities, changed my number, it doesn't matter. He always finds me, and one day I know he'll come back. For real.
Okay.
Mute, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Doesn't really matter because we're sourcing from here right now.
Okay. That's amazing. I mean, to have something like that go down.
Yeah, so like the number one thing is you don't want to ignore your instincts.
No, never.
Especially if there's like signs Like she didn't ever like miss punctuation and stuff like that, and all of a sudden
Or-
it's just like filled with that, and it was like
Or never invited him in because her door was always locked. She was a
Right.
paranoid
right.
one. Then
It's
yeah,
like
that's something.
there was a bunch of stuff leading
Yeah.
up to that he should have just like he should have cleaved to.
Yes, he should have. And like I said, it's true disturbing stories.
Yeah, but are they truly disturbing or are they
True. There should be true. So I mean, just to hear some of these, it's like wow. But like you said, the number one takeaway is always listen to your instinct.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right, we're on to
Alright.
story 2.
Story 2 then, ladies and gents.
I used to love Valentine's Day. The flowers, the fancy dinners, the little surprises, it always felt like something worth celebrating. Something special, something magical. But over the years, it started to lose its spark. Maybe it was the way restaurants hiked up their prices, or how every couple seemed to be performing their love for social media. The stress of booking the perfect table, picking the perfect gift, making sure the night lived up to the impossible expectations. It just became exhausting. So last year, Matt and I decided to do something different. No overpriced dinners. No scrambling for last-minute reservations. Instead, we booked a week-long getaway at this bed and breakfast in Vermont. A quiet, cozy retreat surrounded by snow-covered forests. No emails, no traffic, no distractions. Just us. I remember the drive up, miles of winding roads, trees thick with snow, the sky turning that deep blue-gray of an early winter evening. The further we got from the city, the quieter it became. That heavy, all-consuming kind of quiet you only find in places untouched by streetlights or passing cars. By the time we arrived, the sun had almost disappeared behind the trees. The place was even more beautiful than the photos had made it look. A sprawling wooden lodge, warm lights glowing from the windows, the smell of burning firewood drifting through the crisp air. A handful of cabins were scattered throughout the property, each one tucked among the trees for privacy. It felt secluded in the best way possible. Evelyn, the innkeeper, greeted us at the front desk. She had that soft, knowing warmth that made it seem like she had been running the place forever. "Welcome, lovebirds," she said, handing us a handwritten itinerary. "We've got plenty of activities planned this week. Wine tastings, sleigh rides, a big candlelit dinner on the 14th. She winked. "But if you two just want to hibernate in your cabin, that's perfectly fine too." Our cabin was perfect. Rustic, but not in a roughing it way. Thick blankets on the bed, a fireplace in the corner, and even a private hot tub on the deck. Through the window, I could see the woods stretching out in every direction, untouched snow covering the ground in a perfect, undisturbed layer. I remember standing there, staring at it, feeling strangely small. That first night we had dinner in the lodge with the other couples. The atmosphere was warm, intimate, low candlelight, the scent of cinnamon and roasted meat filling the air. Most of the other guests were friendly, a mix of newlyweds, longtime partners, and people like us. Dating long enough to have inside jokes, but not long enough to have stopped trying. And then there was them, Danielle and Sophie. The moment I saw Sophie, my stomach twisted. She looked like me, not identical, but close enough to make me do a double take. Dark hair, sharp cheekbones, even the same way she absent-mindedly tucked a strand of hair behind her ear when she laughed. Daniel noticed too. "This is crazy," he said, flashing an easy grin. "You two could be sisters." Sophie smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. I laughed it off, made some joke about needing to check my family tree, but the whole interaction left me uneasy. Over the next few days, they kept appearing at breakfast, during the afternoon walk through the woods, at the bonfire event. And every time, it was Daniel who started the conversation. And every time, it was about me. "You remind me of someone," he said one evening, swirling his mulled wine. I didn't ask who. By February 13th, I started avoiding them. I told Matt I wasn't feeling great, skipped the group activities. He didn't seem to notice how Daniel's gaze lingered on me or how Sophie barely spoke at all. That night, I woke up to use the bathroom. The room was dark except for the glow of dying embers in the fireplace. I padded across the wooden floor, still half asleep, but as I passed the window, something made me stop. There was a figure standing at the edge of the trees, not moving, just watching. My breath caught in my throat. My mind scrambled for explanations. Maybe it was Matt. Maybe someone had wandered outside for some fresh air. But deep down, I knew neither of those things were true. The figure just stood there, a dark shape against the pale snow. And then, slowly, it stepped backward into the woods. I didn't wake Matt. I don't know why. Maybe because saying it out loud would make it real. Maybe because I didn't want him to tell me I was imagining things. The next morning, Daniel and Sophie were gone. Evelyn mentioned it casually at breakfast. They checked out early, she said with a shrug. No explanation, no goodbye. That night, Valentine's Day, we had dinner in the lodge. The room was filled with candlelight, the soft hum of conversation, the occasional clinking of wine glasses. It should have felt warm, but something was wrong. The spot where Daniel and Sophie usually sat was empty. It shouldn't have mattered, but it did. The whole room felt off balance, like something had been removed from it. I couldn't shake the feeling, the unease that had been creeping up on me all week, finally reaching its peak. So I asked Evelyn, how long had they been staying here? She frowned. Who? I hesitated. Daniel and Sophie, the couple that left this morning. She gave me a confused look, shaking her head. There was no couple by that name. I felt my stomach drop, but we had dinner with them. We talked to them. They were in cabin 6. Her expression didn't change. Cabin 6 has been empty all week. A cold wave washed over me. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, we packed up and left before breakfast. Neither of us spoke much during the drive. I kept looking out the window, expecting to see something, someone, watching us from the trees. I never found out who Daniel and Sophie really were, or why I saw someone standing in the woods that night, but every Valentine's Day since, I wake up at exactly 2 a.m. And for just a second, I swear I see a shadow outside my window. Breakups are weird. Everyone talks about the immediate pain, the heartbreak, the tears, the gut-wrenching realization that someone you loved is just gone. But no one really warns you about the slow, dragging aftershock. The small things. The empty Sunday mornings when there's no one to split coffee with. The cold side of the bed that stays cold. The inside jokes that don't make sense anymore because half of the joke walked out the door. It had been a few months, but I was still dealing with the fallout. She kept the apartment. I found a new place. She kept the friend group. I quietly left the group chats. Fair? Probably. But fair doesn't make it hurt less. So, like any other lonely idiot trying to get back out there, I did what I swore I wouldn't do. I downloaded a dating app. Now, I didn't expect much. If you've ever used those apps, you know what I mean. It's like fishing in a lake where half the fish are scammers and the other half are people who either never respond or give you one-word answers until you give up. I swiped through people I had nothing in common with, ignored the weirdly aggressive bios. If you're under 6 feet, don't even try, and dodged the bots trying to convince me to sign up for some sketchy website. But then there was Leah. She was different, or at least she seemed different. Her messages had personality, actual conversation, not just a string of emojis or a dry wid. She was funny, witty, and best of all, she lived nearby. We spent a few days messaging back and forth, mostly swapping stories about awful Valentine's Day experiences. Hers involved an ex who proposed after 3 months of dating. Mine involved accidentally sending flowers to my boss instead of my girlfriend. Long story. It felt easy, comfortable, like talking to someone I already knew. Then, the day before Valentine's, she suggested we meet up for a drink. Let's do it before the big day, she said. No pressure, no expectations. I like that. No need for over-the-top romance, just two people looking for a little company. I agreed. We picked a bar near my place, and that was that. Or at least, I thought it was. The night of our meetup, I was running a little late. Nothing serious, just the usual pre-date routine. Staring at my reflection for too long, wondering if my jacket made me look like I was trying too hard, and debating whether 2 drinks for confidence was one too many. When I finally stepped outside, the cold air hit me like a slap. It was that deep kind of winter chill, the kind that makes your breath fog up in front of you and sinks into your bones, no matter how many layers you're wearing. The streets were quieter than I expected. A few couples strolled by, bundled up and lost in their own little worlds. It was one of those nights where the city just felt different, like something was missing. I pulled out my phone and shot Leah a quick text. On my way. You there? Her reply came almost instantly. Hey, yeah, I'm here, but it's crazy packed. Some group's having a birthday party and it's way too loud. I ducked into a quieter spot nearby. I'll send you the location. Made sense. When I got closer to the bar, I could see what she meant. People were practically spilling out onto the sidewalk, laughter and cigarette smoke filling the air. The kind of place where you had to shout to be heard. I wouldn't want to wait in there either. Then my phone buzzed again. The restaurant's name and an address. They're holding a table for us, but hurry, it's getting busy too. I stopped walking. We never talked about dinner. Something about that small detail made my stomach twist. It wasn't that weird, right? Maybe she changed her mind last minute. Maybe she just got hungry. But something didn't sit right. I tapped the address to check the route. The quickest way there was through an old side street, one of those narrow alleys where the streetlights barely work and the buildings feel like they're pressing in on you. The other route was 10 minutes longer, but stayed on the main roads. I wasn't an idiot. I took the long way. As I walked, I messaged back, might take a bit longer, not walking through the alley. Her reply came instantly, too fast. Come on, it's fine, just be quick. I frowned. The casual, playful tone from earlier was gone. Then another message. Please, I don't want to sit here alone. I slowed down. The street was empty, too empty. The kind of empty that makes you hyper aware of every sound. My own footsteps, the rustle of dry leaves, the distant hum of traffic blocks away. Then another message. Where are you? My pulse stuttered. I wasn't even close to the restaurant yet. How did she know I wasn't moving? I didn't reply. My brain screamed at me to turn around, go home, forget the whole thing. But instead, I walked faster. My heart was hammering now, breath coming shorter with every step. The closer I got, the worse the feeling grew, like I was walking into something I couldn't see. Finally, I reached the restaurant. Small, dimly lit, almost too quiet. I stepped inside, exhaling in relief. It was nearly empty. I shot off a quick text, here, where are you? Nothing. The same person who had been spamming my phone minutes ago had suddenly gone completely silent. A waiter passed by and I asked, hey, did a girl come in? About my height, dark hair? He frowned, shaking his head. No, it's been slow all night. My stomach twisted. No Leah, no busy crowd, no table being held. I checked my phone one last time, staring at the messages. They were still there, but they felt wrong. Like something was off about them in a way I couldn't explain. I didn't wait around to figure it out. I booked an Uber and kept my back to the wall until the car pulled up. Even when I got home, I couldn't shake the feeling, like I wasn't alone. The next morning, I opened the app. Leah's profile was gone, like she'd never existed at all. I deleted the app, and I stayed in that night. Valentine's Day has
So
Yeah, there's been 2 stories now, and those last 2 stories are something else. I mean, I would for sure say that it's Ghost.
I think the first one that we missed out here was I guess it's story 2 with the guy that they said that there was no couple in that cabin and everything. I think they gained an attachment from that one for sure.
Yes.
And on this one, again, the long story short is don't download apps for anything. Dating apps are the devil either way you slice it. You never get anywhere with them. So
yeah, you got to be careful in general because the internet is just a quicker pathway for spirits to attach.
It's true.
If they've asked you permission, whether it be through your cell phone, whether it be through the computer, no matter what, they will attach to you very quickly. Then
all this is like an enhanced Ouija board.
Yeah.
It's like if you're not careful, like
exactly
through camera apps, through audio devices, anything
it's
like
done.
that. It's like we always take a lot of precautions with this sort of thing.
Yes.
had some really weird stuff happen, but it's why they call it Ghost in the Machine. I mean, it's literally just that. And the people talk about Hero Brain. Well, that doesn't exist. It's just an urban legend, and it's like, but
it started somewhere.
It starts somewhere, and then it gains.
Yes.
It gains and gains, and it becomes a thing. So.
It does, for sure. Yes.
And dating apps in general. I mean, the modern man knows that that's like you said, it's like half of it's scams, and the other half of them you don't meet the standards of you're not 6 feet tall. You don't make 6 figures, and
it's exactly right. Yes.
Avoid the apps.
Yes, do. That's best. Avoiding the apps is by far best.
I'm gonna put a prompt up real quick here. Let's see. Where was your most Okay, so I'm gonna prompt this for a second. Where was your most memorable Valentine's date at?
Yes, please let us know. Let us know, what your best one was, what your worst one was.
Yeah, well, where was your most memorable Valentine's date?
Yes.
Where was yours?
Mine?
Yeah.
The very first one with you when we went to that's Italian.
It's gone now.
It's gone.
That's sad.
I know.
We went there twice. We went there for Valentine's, and then later on, after he was born, we went there for our anniversary.
Yeah, to try to kind of rehash, going there with the
so
first
that
time.
was, let's see, we went for our very first Valentine's Day there was in 2005.
Yes.
Right? Or maybe 2006. Because 2005, we weren't really dating yet.
Yeah, 2006.
So 2006, and then in 2008, we went back there for,
Yes.
But I remember they had a whole special, and you had done the whole package deal and everything. And
I did.
It was really good. Good salad.
They were a good place in general, family run.
Yeah.
That was it.
Now.
Yeah. Fortunately, they closed the doors.
That was in Kernville, California.
Yep.
Circle Park. Yeah, so let us know where your most memorable Valentine's date was, and whether it was good or bad or somewhere in between. Just let us know.
Yep, definitely.
All right, let us continue.
Has always been a big deal for Rachel. She's the type who starts planning a whole month in advance, reservations, little gifts, handwritten notes, all of it. And honestly, I love that about her. But me, I've always been more of a last minute grab some flowers on the way home kind of guy. Not because I don't care, but because I've never been great at all the planning and romantic gestures. But this year, I wanted to do it right. No scrambling, no half-hearted efforts. I had a plan. I worked as a delivery driver for a catering company in Philly, and that particular Valentine's Day, my shift ended at 3 p.m. That was perfect. It gave me plenty of time to pick up a reservation-only cake from this boutique bakery Rachel loved, grab the roses I had actually pre-ordered for once, and get home early to set everything up for a perfect evening. At least that was the plan. I rolled into the parking lot of the catering warehouse at 7 a.m., already feeling exhausted. I hadn't gotten much sleep the night before, stayed up too late wrapping Rachel's gift. It was nothing too extravagant, just a delicate gold necklace with a tiny heart charm, simple but meaningful. I knew she'd love it. But as soon as I got to work, something felt off. The place was eerily quiet. The usual morning bustle, the clattering of carts, the beeping of trucks backing up, the chatter of my coworkers was completely missing. The big metal doors on the loading dock were shut. Normally, they were open, with workers moving in and out, loading up deliveries. But not today. And my boss's car? Gone. That was weird. Mr. Calloway was always here before anyone else. The guy was a drill sergeant when it came to punctuality. If you were even 5 minutes late, you'd get an earful. But today, the parking lot was nearly empty. I pulled out my phone and checked the time. 7:05 a.m. Maybe I was just early? I leaned back in my seat and scrolled mindlessly for a few minutes. But something kept nagging at me. By 7:15, when no one else had shown up, I started to feel uneasy. I tried calling Callaway. No answer. I called a couple of coworkers. Nothing. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Rob, one of the other drivers. Dude, have you heard? I frowned. Heard what? There was a long pause before he finally responded. Callaway's dead. I sat up so fast I nearly dropped my phone. What? How? Another pause. Then, I don't know the details. Cops found him at his house this morning. It's bad, man. I just stared at the screen. My stomach twisted into a tight knot. Mr. Callaway? Dead? I mean, I wasn't close to him, but I had worked for the guy for 3 years. He was strict, sure. Borderline obsessive about time management, but he wasn't a bad person. He had a no-nonsense kind of attitude, but he ran the company well. The idea that he was gone just didn't seem real. I called Rob immediately. He picked up on the second ring. Are you serious? I asked. Yeah, man, the cops are everywhere. His whole street is blocked off. I swallowed hard. What happened? Was it like an accident or something? Rob exhaled sharply. I don't think so. I heard something about a break-in. A break-in. That made my skin crawl. I glanced out the window, suddenly hyper aware of how quiet everything was. I was about to drive over there, Rob said. You want to come? I hesitated. I wasn't sure if I wanted to see whatever was waiting at Callaway's place. But at the same time, I couldn't just sit here, pretending like nothing had happened. Yeah, I said. I'll come. 15 minutes later, I was in Rob's car, watching the city blur past. Neither of us talked much. The radio was on low, but it might as well have been static. When we turned onto Callaway Street, we saw the flashing lights immediately. Police cars were parked haphazardly along the curb. Yellow crime scene tape stretched across the property, keeping onlookers at bay. A few neighbors stood outside in clusters, murmuring to each other. Rob pulled over, and we got out. Callaway's house was small and unassuming. Single story, white siding, an old porch swing hanging lopsided from the front. Just a normal house, except for the open front door. Cops were moving in and out, their radios crackling, and from the murmurs around us, I picked up bits and pieces. Enough to paint a picture I really didn't want to see. Callaway had been tied to a chair, beaten, tortured, left like that all night. I felt a cold chill creep up my spine. Why? I muttered, more to myself than anyone else. Who the hell would do something like that? Rob just shook his head. His jaw was tight, his hands stuffed in his hoodie pockets. Over the next few days, the full story came out. And with every detail, it got worse. It was a couple, a man and a woman. They broke into Callaway's house the night before Valentine's Day, convinced he had some kind of money stash hidden away. He didn't, but they didn't believe him. So they kept going. For hours. And the most messed up part, they did it for Valentine's Day. They needed money for a fancy dinner, a hotel, some jewelry. That's what it came down to. Callaway suffered, died, because two people wanted to have a luxury Valentine's night. The cops caught them within 24 hours. They weren't exactly criminal masterminds. They got arrested at a cheap motel, drinking champagne and eating chocolate-covered strawberries. And guess what they used to pay for it? Callaway's credit card. I couldn't wrap my head around it. The sheer stupidity, the cruelty, the absolute waste of it all. Valentine's Day was supposed to be about love, about appreciating the people who matter. But for Callaway, it had become the worst night of his life, and his last. That night I went to Rachel's place. I sat her down and told her everything. She listened quietly, her fingers laced through mine, eyes wide. When I finished, she squeezed my hand. Do you still want to go out tonight? She asked softly. I thought about it, about everything, about how fast life could flip upside down. After a long moment, I shook my head. Let's just stay in, I said, because for the first time, I really understood how fast things could change. How love, the thing we celebrate with roses and chocolates, could be twisted into something dark. And how a single night, one that was supposed to be filled with warmth and joy, could leave scars that never really heal.
That's just crazy. For somebody to kill over something like that.
Materialistic shit.
Yeah.
The whole holidays in itself has become very materialistic, and they took it to a whole new level.
Yeah, they did.
It's like tonight, you and I are doing this. This is what we're doing. We're gonna sit here and listen to these stories and do that. And it's like we don't really celebrate this sort of holiday anymore. Like when we were younger, we did a little bit,
but yeah, this holiday is kind of gone commercialized anyway, and all people do is bank money on it. So I mean, that's not something that we're into.
No, it's kind of literally against their religion, actually.
Yeah.
So I guess this would be a good time to talk about the actual history and origin of Valentine's Day to begin with.
Yes.
So in 270 AD, that means 270 years after Christ was walking the earth and everything, right?
Yes.
There was a Roman emperor named Claudius II. And Claudius wasn't into the whole one man, one woman joined together forever in holy matrimony that the Christians brought along with him. He didn't like that.
Yeah.
So he banned marriage in Rome for that entire time period. And so there was Valentinius, which later became known as Saint Valentine's, and he was a priest, and he continued to marry young couples in love.
Yes.
Because, Claudius, he didn't have a problem with homosexual relationships or even heterosexual relationships or orgies or any of that. He just didn't like the idea of a contract between people. So that was his problem. So St. Valentine continued to marry people that were in love and Christians, and young couples, despite that being against the law. Eventually, he got caught. And he got sent to jail, and even from jail, he continued to marry these people. They'd come to visit him, and he would do the Holy Sacrament and everything, and marry them anyway.
See, he's got balls.
And then eventually, what they presumed to be February 14th, he was tortured and martyred, set on fire, and executed.
Yes.
By the Holy Roman Empire, Emperor. So that's why they say that we celebrate love in all its forms on February 14th, because this guy was willing to risk absolutely everything for the sake of love, even if it wasn't his own. So
well, it's for the idea of it,
right? It's like it was something that was holy and sacred,
yes,
and he was going to do it whether or not the law said.
Well, especially if the law said no.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's like no authority but God, and so he did it anyway. But yeah, so it is not, and never has been, a pagan holiday.
Like so many people will try to say.
As a matter of fact, the pagans were very much against it.
Yes.
So it has always been, to its core, a very, very Christian holiday.
Exactly.
And that just popped up here. What was that?
I didn't see it.
There was something that was right here. An extra little dealio.
Guess you're trying to mess with us.
Speaking of Ghost in the Machine,
yeah, so there's things.
So there you go. There's your very quick, brief history of Valentine's Day. And now, for some reason, like you said, we celebrate it with chocolate and roses.
Well, because the corporations decided to commercialize and capitalize on it. Yes.
Yeah, like you gave me a necklace years ago. It was beautiful, beautiful crystal necklace.
We still have it.
I still have it. I've used it for just about every big event that we've had ever since then. And that was like in 2006 or 2007. 2007, I think.
Yeah.
And I've had it ever since. I mean, we're going on almost 20 years.
I know. And it still looks good on you.
I loved it, and I still love it, but it's like I wouldn't go and say that I need a new diamond every year.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's like, and certainly don't need a new stuffed animal, and I don't need roses unless they're going to be plantable.
And I've done that for a couple of years.
Chocolates you bring to me anyway, so and that's not a problem. So yeah, like just to hear about this, somebody who gets killed over something.
I know, so trivial.
And they stayed in some cheap hotel and had cheap...
Yeah, and they used his credit card. I mean, come on, they were very stupid to go through and use his credit card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, all in the name of love, right?
Yep.
Alrighty, let's continue then.
Yep.
I wasn't expecting much from Valentine's Day, not because I had anything against it, really. It's not like I sat around sulking while couples paraded their love around in public like some walking, talking, heart-shaped advertisement. But I guess after enough years of either being single or watching a relationship fizzle out right before February 14th, you stop expecting anything from it. This year was no different. I'd made peace with the idea of spending the night alone. Just me, a mountain of takeout, and some random movie that I'd pretend I hadn't already seen a dozen times. Maybe a drink or two. Maybe I'd scroll through social media and pretend it didn't bother me that everyone else seemed to have someone. And then, of course, my best friend Nate had to throw a wrench in my plans. Dude, his grin was way too smug as he shoved a red invitation into my hands like it was some golden ticket. Singles mixer. No pressure, no expectations, just drinks, vibes, and the possibility of not being a lonely sad sack on Valentine's Day. I gave him a flat look. That sounds exactly like pressure and expectations. He waved a dismissive hand. Oh, please. It's literally a bar full of single people. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. That sounds unethical. Nate groaned. Come on, man. One night. One drink. If it sucks, I'll buy you dinner. I sighed. I wanted to say no, but he knew me too well. If there was free food involved, I'd at least consider it. And honestly, as much as I like to pretend Valentine's Day didn't get to me, the idea of spending it watching couples post perfectly filtered pictures of their candlelit dinners wasn't exactly thrilling. So, against my better judgment, I went. The bar was decorated like Cupid himself had thrown up all over the place, red and pink everywhere. Heart-shaped balloons floated near the ceiling, little fairy lights twisted around the bar, and the whole place had this dim, moody lighting that was clearly designed to make everyone look at least 30% more attractive. Someone was playing soft jazz on a saxophone in the corner, which felt a little too on the nose. I took a deep breath, grabbed a drink, and reminded myself that I was not here to meet anyone. I was here to prove Nate wrong, collect my free dinner, and go home. That was the plan. And then I saw her. She was sitting at the far end of the bar, a glass of wine in her hand, idly twirling the stem between her fingers. Dark curls framed her face, cascading over her shoulder.
Hello, hello.
Okay. So, like, I don't know where this is going, but I'm just going to say again a cautionary tale. You got to watch out for these sorts of events and these sorts of things because there's often women who go to these things and they prey off of lonely men.
Yes.
And that man will wake up, if he's lucky, the next day
in a tub.
In an ice bath.
Ice bath, yes.
Missing his organs because they've been sold on the black market. She'll go and she'll drug him when they get back to the house, and then these people will come in.
The next thing he knows, he wakes up and he's missing.
If he's lucky.
Body parts, and
if he's not lucky, he won't wake up at all.
He's dead.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I mean, your spirit's gonna be like,
what?
Dang it!
Yeah, did I even get laid? So yeah, cautionary tales all bound through this. So let's see where this one goes.
Yeah, just please note that.
Gotta be safe, gentlemen.
Shoulders like they had a mind of their own. She wasn't talking to anyone, wasn't checking her phone, wasn't desperately trying to look approachable. She was just there, present, like she was waiting for something or someone. I didn't realize I'd been staring until Nate elbowed me. Dude, go talk to her. I scoffed. Yeah, because walking up to a woman at a singles mixer is so original. Nate rolled his eyes. That's literally the entire point of this event. Just go. What's the worst that happens? She tells you to screw off? I hesitated. Normally, I'd overthink it. Normally, I'd let the moment pass and then regret it later, but there was something about her. Before I could talk myself out of it, I found my feet moving. I walked over, leaned casually against the bar, and said, You look like you got dragged here too. She glanced up, surprised for just a second. Then a slow smirk tugged at the corner of her lips. You guilty. That was all I needed. Her name was Maya, and she had the best kind of humor. The kind that made you work for the joke, but when you got it, it was worth it. She didn't just laugh at things, she observed them, twisted them into something clever, something unexpected. We spent the next hour swapping stories about our worst Valentine's days. I once had a guy propose to me on Valentine's Day, she said. Taking a sip of her wine, my eyebrows shot up. Wait, propose? Like with a ring? Oh, yeah. He went full cliche. Rose petals, a violinist, a waiter filming the whole thing like we were in some kind of Hallmark movie? I blinked. Wow. And what happened? I said no. I let out a low whistle. Brutal, she shrugged. He was cheating on me at the time, so I'd say it was fair. I nearly choked on my drink. Jesus. Now that's a story. The conversation flowed effortlessly. The mixer faded into the background, the chatter of other singles, the clinking of glasses, the terrible saxophone rendition of Can't Help Falling in Love. It all blurred into white noise. It was just me and her, talking like we'd known each other forever. Then, out of nowhere, she grabbed my hand. Come on, she said, pulling me toward the dance floor. I resisted. Oh no, bad idea. Oh, come on, she teased. What's the worst that happens? You embarrass yourself? Yes, that is exactly what happens. She rolled her eyes. Just one dance. Against my better judgment, I let her drag me onto the floor. I stepped on her foot within the first 30 seconds. She just laughed. I did too. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't overthinking anything. I was just there, in the moment. And then, just when I was about to ask if she wanted to go somewhere quieter, she checked her phone. Her smile faltered. I should go, she said, slipping her phone into her bag. My stomach sank. Already, she hesitated, like she was debating something. Then, finally, she sighed, reached into her purse, and pulled out a folded napkin. I'm really glad I met you tonight. She pressed it into my hand. Don't lose this. And before I could ask what she meant, she was gone. I stood there for a second, a little dazed. Then I looked down at the napkin. In small, neat handwriting, there was an address. And below it, just three words. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. I didn't know what to expect. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it was some kind of test. But I knew one thing for sure. For the first time in years, Valentine's Day didn't feel like a complete waste.
What the hell? That like ended right there?
Like we thought there'd be more to it. Like he went and
Got his kidney kid.
yeah, he got a kidney taken out or spleen gone.
Because like she had it ready to go.
Yeah,
she had that napkin just ready to go in her purse. She didn't write.
I thought there was gonna be like a piece of like what do you call it? Like a roofie.
Yeah,
there.
right.
Like she was like, I was supposed to do this and I didn't.
I think that they screwed up on that because it's like she should have checked the phone. And it would have been like she's conflicted because she actually kind of likes this guy.
Yeah.
And the guys are like, well, do you have one or not? And she's like, yeah, okay. And then she gives him that, and then he goes and ends up losing a kidney.
Yeah.
If somebody hasn't lost a kidney, it's not a good story. Well, fuck.
No.
What? All right. Well, I guess we'll continue.
On to the next one.
That's
I never thought my worst Valentine's Day would also be the one I'd never forget. I mean, bad dates happen. Maybe the restaurant screws up your order, or your partner forgets to get you a gift, or someone has a little too much wine and says something they shouldn't. But this was something else. It was supposed to be a simple, romantic weekend, just me and my girlfriend Hannah. We'd been together for 2 years, and this was our first real trip, just the two of us. No work emails, no family obligations, no distractions. Just us, a cozy cabin in the mountains, and enough wine to make sure we never got bored. I found this Airbnb up in the woods, about an hour and a half outside of town. The listing described it as a secluded getaway with no neighbors for miles. At the time, that sounded perfect. Peaceful, private, a chance to really connect. Looking back, I wish I'd picked a hotel. The first night was everything I hoped for. We cooked dinner together, well, mostly Hannah, since I tend to burn anything that isn't toast. We had way too much wine and ended up dancing in the tiny living room, laughing like idiots. When it got late, we exchanged gifts. She gave me this beautiful leather journal because she knew I always talked about writing more. I gave her a necklace with our initials engraved on it. She teared up, which made me feel like I actually did something right for once. It was the kind of night you remember years later and smile, the kind that makes you think, yeah, this person, I could spend forever with them. And then, just like that, everything changed. I woke up sometime after midnight to the sound of footsteps outside. At first, I wasn't even sure I'd really heard it. I was still groggy, wrapped up in that warm post-wine haze. But then, there it was again, a slow, steady crunch of snow. I held my breath, listening. Could have been an animal, I told myself, a deer maybe, or a fox. But no, these weren't quick, skittering movements. They were slow, deliberate. Someone was walking outside our cabin. I turned my head toward Hannah, still asleep beside me. Her breathing was soft, steady. I debated waking her up, but I didn't want to scare her over nothing. Instead, I carefully slid out of bed and tiptoed toward the window. The fire we'd lit outside earlier had burned down to just embers, casting a faint orange glow over the snow. Just enough light for me to see a figure standing near the trees. My stomach dropped. He wasn't moving, just standing there, watching. I couldn't make out his face, just the outline of his body, the way his shoulders seemed unnaturally stiff. The air inside the cabin suddenly felt too thin, like I couldn't get enough oxygen. I let the curtain fall back into place and stepped away from the window. My mind raced. Maybe he was lost. Maybe he didn't even know we were here. I lay back down, eyes wide open, heart pounding. I told myself if I just waited, just listened, maybe he'd go away. Eventually, after what felt like hours, the footsteps faded. The next morning, I told Hannah about it over breakfast. She furrowed her brows but shrugged. Probably just a hiker, she said, stirring her coffee. Or a hunter. People come out to these areas all the time. I nodded, pretending to agree, but deep down, I knew better. That night, I wasn't taking any chances. I double-checked every lock on the doors and windows, closed all the curtains, left the fire outside burning a little longer, as if that tiny flickering light would somehow keep us safe. I don't know what time it was when I woke up again. This time, it wasn't footsteps. It was a knock at the door. 3 soft, steady taps. I sat up so fast my vision swam. My chest felt tight. Next to me, Hannah mumbled something in her sleep, shifting under the covers. Then another knock, louder this time. I reached for my phone on the nightstand. No service. Of course, swallowing hard, I forced myself to speak. Hello? Silence. Then, just as I was about to back away, I heard it. A whisper, right outside the door. I see you. I froze. My skin went cold. Hannah stirred beside me, rubbing her eyes. What's going on? I held up a finger. Shh. My legs felt like they weren't even attached to my body as I moved toward the window, my breath coming in shallow bursts. And then I saw him. The same man from last night, standing right on our porch. This time, I could see him clearly. He was tall, unshaven, wearing a filthy, oversized jacket. His arms hung loosely at his sides, but his fingers twitched slightly, like he was holding back some kind of energy. His eyes were what got me. They were empty, hollow, like he was looking through me, not at me. I turned to Hannah, my voice barely a whisper. Get dressed. We're leaving. Now. She didn't argue. We grabbed what we could, stuffing clothes into bags with shaky hands. I kept glancing at the door, half expecting it to fly open at any second. But when we finally opened it, he was gone. The porch was empty. The trees stood still. No footprints, no movement, nothing. I didn't stop to wonder where he went. We jumped into the car, locked the doors, and peeled out of there so fast I nearly skidded off the road. We didn't stop until we reached a gas station with full cell service miles away. It was past 4 a.m. I called the Airbnb owner, breathless, my hands still shaking on the wheel. No one else should have been up there, they said. No kidding. We never went back. Left our bags, our food, everything. I canceled the rest of the trip. That was 3 years ago, and I still think about it, especially on Valentine's Day. I try to tell myself it was just some random guy passing through, some trespasser, nothing more. But
Hello? Okay, go ahead.
Test. Okay. Yeah, that's a dumb one.
Yeah, you got to keep your wits about you.
Yes.
You can't just go and because if you're running in a panic, you're not paying attention to stuff. Like
Nope.
I said, that guy could have been in the car,
Exactly.
waiting for them. He probably knows the area better than they do. He could have set up stuff in the roadway to cause problems. We're talking about 4 o'clock at night in an area that has snow. So
Yes.
there's ice on the road and all kinds of. What happens if you crash? Then
exactly. Then they have the upper hand.
Yeah.
They know the area.
They left their food behind. That's a big no for me.
And it's like the guy that lived in Havila.
Yes.
That was always trying to stop people.
I went out one morning. It was probably about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm driving along, and I get to this area in the middle of this what do you call it? It's nothing now. A town, I guess you could call it a little town.
Well, it's not even a town now.
I know
it's
burned down, but and I had to stop dead because there was these jugs set evenly across the road, and I was like, what the hell is that? And I sure as shit wasn't gonna get out, and I'm maneuvering my way through them, and I look over to the side, and then there's this guy, completely unshaven beard, and he's sitting there, he's yelling, and he starts throwing sticks at me and shit, and it was and then I came to find out that he did this kind of stuff routinely.
Yeah, Steve talks about it all the time.
Is he still there?
Yeah.
Oh my god. And the jugs, I took pictures of them and posted them on the Kern Valley site. And they were like, oh, it looks like pee. I mean, it looked like old pee, And it was it just it's so nasty. And they're like, well, why didn't you get out and move them? And I'm like, oh, yeah, get out. Well, the guy was standing right there.
Yeah.
I didn't even see him to begin with until I started going through. That means he was hiding in the fucking bushes somewhere.
Yeah.
5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I've heard from other people that he does it for one because he has kittens and cats and stuff, and people drive too fast in the area, so he does try to slow people down.
It's weird though.
It's very weird.
5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, just sitting there waiting for people.
I know.
I swear to God, I know. It's I understand. Another interesting weird thing happened once through the area at night. Speaking of kittens, there was a cat that I know I hit. The
black one?
The black one. And I mean, I felt the thunk. And I went back around and tried to find it, and it wasn't.
Nope, no cat.
I got to the same spot. I got chills. I went to the same spot. It ran across again.
Yeah, I remember that. I was
like, oh my god, I got the biggest chills.
I remember that.
I don't know. I don't think were you with me for that? Or?
Well, I was with one of them because I remember that we saw a black cat running across. Remember where those the tweakers are?
Yes.
That one house.
Yeah.
I ran across there.
And you knew.
And we're we both just kind of looked at each other and we just see that.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, I know that I hit it. I mean, I heard it thunk and I was freaking out. I'm like, oh my god. And I'm like, well, maybe he just made it off to the side of the road or whatever. Yeah. And then I get to the and he ran exactly the same way, the same exact way.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's creepy.
Hell no. That whole area is freaky as hell.
It is.
And it's now it's burned and it's probably going to be even freakier.
I know that's the problem. Blessed be that area.
Right. It needed a good cleansing though, because I swear I used to think that there was cannibals in there and stuff, because it is a weird area.
I know. And now I've got to walk through it that burned.
I know. He walks from a little town that doesn't have a Walmart or anything. We have a Vons and then a couple of little grocery stores, and that's about it. All the way to our settlement here, which is about 20 miles away.
Yeah.
Over 2 hills, and he has to get rides from some very questionable people sometimes. But
oh my god, yeah.
There's other times he's walked at night, just by himself at night,
through the area.
Do you remember carrying the root beer back that one time and you saw something like try to pull it into the bushes as you're walking by, and it's like gray like hand thing?
Yes, I remember that.
Try to take it, and you're like, no.
Mine.
And then he just keeps walking.
My stuff.
It's like between wild animals, tweakers, he's gotten shot at.
Oh, yeah, I have.
Aliens, whatever, you name it, he's encountered it in that area. I swear to God, it is the creepiest stretch.
And it's going to be even worse now.
And it's going to be even worse
because
it burns. Of the fires and stuff. Yeah, I don't know, man. There was a guy that picked him up in the snow once, and he was driving all fast and reckless like, and eyes all big and bulging, and talking about some huge conspiracy theory stuff, like, there's an underground bunker over there. But it's interesting because that didn't burn, did it?
No, it didn't.
So you have to wonder, some of these people, they might know some things. Yeah, we got some stories, I tell you.
Maybe one day we'll go over them all too.
Yeah, we should. The LongWalker's stories, walkers,
The walk-ins.
All right.
But then I remember that whisper, I see you, and I wonder if somewhere out there he still does. I used to love Valentine's Day. The flowers, the chocolates, the little notes tucked inside bouquets. It was always something I looked forward to. Even when I was single, there was something about the whole atmosphere that felt magical. Like maybe that year would be the year I'd meet someone special. I don't feel that way anymore. Now, every time February rolls around, I just try to pretend it doesn't exist. And it all goes back to last year, the year I learned that not all love stories are meant to have happy endings. It started in the most ordinary way, on a dating app. I'd been on and off those apps for a while, swiping through the usual sea of half-hearted selfies, gym mirror pics, and bios that said things like fluent in sarcasm or just ask, which, let's be honest, is just code for I have nothing interesting to say about myself. But then I came across Alex. There was something different about him. His pictures weren't the usual over-filtered, try-hard kind, just natural, casual shots. One of him laughing at some rooftop party, another in a bookstore, flipping through a novel, and one where he was sitting on a park bench, holding a coffee. It didn't feel staged, like he was trying to prove anything. And his bio? Simple, but with actual personality. If you're into good books, road trips, and coffee shops that play old jazz records, we'll probably get along just fine. I don't know why, but I felt drawn to him. Maybe because I was into those things. Maybe because, for the first time in a while, I saw a profile that felt real. Not just some guy flexing in a bathroom mirror or posing with a fish he caught. So I swiped right, and we matched. From the first conversation, he was different. He wasn't one of those guys who jumped straight into flirty lines or weirdly personal questions. He actually wanted to talk. We started off with books, our favorites, the ones that changed us, the ones we swore we'd read but never actually did. Then music. He had this thing about old records, about how digital music could never really capture the warmth of vinyl. He even made me a playlist, full of slow, dreamy songs that felt like they belonged in a dimly lit cafe on a rainy afternoon. By the end of the first week, talking to him felt natural, comfortable, like I'd known him longer than just a few days. By the second week, I was looking forward to his messages more than I wanted to admit. By the third, I was hooked. Then, on the morning of Valentine's Day, I woke up to a text. I have a surprise for you. Check your front door. I was still half asleep, blinking at my phone, trying to process what I was reading. A surprise? I padded over to my front door, heart pounding for no reason that made sense. And when I opened it, there it was, a beautifully wrapped box, tied with a deep red ribbon. My stomach flipped as I knelt down and picked it up.
All right. Any guesses on what might be in the box?
We both have that same guess. Oh, Guru says heart.
Guru says heart. A human heart. I say it's a head of some sort.
I say it's a head too.
You think it's a head too?
Yes.
It's a hard thing to get, but makes your leg look bigger.
It
Your
does.
leg is giant. Sit normal.
I'm still not sitting normal, but.
All right, so 2 heads, 1 heart. Let's see.
Yep.
Let's see what's in the box.
The box wasn't just some random last-minute gift. It was heavy, solid, like actual thought had gone into whatever was inside. I carried it inside, set it on my coffee table, and carefully untied the ribbon. The wrapping paper crinkled as I pulled it back, and when I lifted the lid, I sucked in a breath. Inside was an elegant black dress, smooth and silky under my fingertips, and a pair of designer heels that I could tell, just from the feel of them, weren't cheap. But what really stopped me was the note, a simple handwritten card resting on top of the dress. Wear this tonight. I want our first date to be special. See you at 7. My heart should have been thrilled, but instead it stuttered because something isn't adding up. I never told him my dress size. I never told him my shoe size. And more importantly, I never told him my address. I sat there staring at the box, my stomach twisting into something tight and uneasy. I tried to tell myself there was a logical explanation. Maybe he had guessed the size. Maybe he had figured out my address from something I'd posted or mentioned in passing. Maybe I was overthinking it. So I ignored the nagging feeling in my gut. I put on the dress, the heels, even did my makeup a little nicer than usual, because this was supposed to be romantic, right? A guy going out of his way to make a first date special. I wanted it to be romantic. By 7 p.m., I was at the restaurant, a small, intimate place with low lighting, candles flickering on the tables, soft music playing in the background. But there was no Alex. I checked my phone. No texts. No missed calls. I waited. 10 minutes. 20. 30. The waiter kept glancing at me, probably wondering why I was sitting alone at a table for two. The longer I sat there, the more stupid I felt. Just as I was about to leave, a waiter walked over. "Are you Lauren?" I nodded. He handed me a small, wrapped box. I just stared at it, a strange, sinking feeling in my chest. "Someone left this for you earlier," he added. I barely managed to mumble a thank you before.
Okay, so the first one was not a head. So
We were wrong.
Maybe the second one, maybe the smaller box, the small head, shrunken head.
Like a shrunken head. That's a good one.
I would love that. That would keychain.
I know, right?
All right, dude. What's your guess for the second present that was left? It's small hand wrapped box.
Heart.
Okay.
Heart.
Before he walked away, with shaking hands, I peeled back the wrapping paper and opened the box. Inside was a delicate silver necklace, a small heart pendant, and another note. "You look beautiful. I've been watching you all night." I dropped the box, my breath hitched, my heart hammering against my ribs as I whipped my head around, searching. Who was watching me? Where were they? I felt exposed, like every single person in that restaurant could see me, but I couldn't see them. I grabbed my things and practically ran out of the restaurant, dialing my best friend Emily with trembling hands. She told me to come straight to her place. I didn't look back. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on Emily's couch, phone clutched in my hand, heart still racing. And then, at 3 a.m., my screen lit up. An unknown number. "I saw you leave. You should have worn the necklace." I blocked the number so fast my fingers fumbled. By morning, Emily convinced me to go to the police, but they told me the same thing they always do. No actual crime was committed. That night, we checked the front door. It was another box, wrapped in red paper. We didn't open it. We threw it away and left every light on. Within a month, I deleted every dating app, changed my number, moved to a new apartment, and this year, when Valentine's Day came around, I stayed inside. No dates. No surprises, no gifts, because now I know better. Not all love stories are meant to have happy endings.
All right, so no head, no heart.
No, we lost all those.
At least up until the third one. I don't know.
Yeah.
But let me put another prompt up here.
But you should probably play some of the game and like have worn the necklace out still, because then maybe who knows what he might try to do. This crazed guy.
Yep. Received.
Received.
Received. For okay. So I said, what was the most memorable gift you've ever given or received for or from Valentine's Day?
Yes.
What was it for you?
For me, what did I ever, let's see, for Valentine's Day? Conceiving him, probably.
That's valid. I didn't think about that. Like I said, I like that necklace that you gave me.
That one really sticks out as far as what I got you.
And then one time I gave Guru a plushie, couple of plushies. It was the turtle, the Koopa plushie, and a Bowser plushie, and he still has them to this day.
That is awesome.
For some reason, he named the Koopa Joseph.
Yes.
Stuck.
Biblical name stick.
Always naming the biblical things. He had a wolf named David too. I don't know. So yeah, I'll leave that up for a little bit.
Yep.
I think we've got two.
It all started last year. I was 25, working at a mid-sized marketing company, drowning in emails and deadlines, and hopelessly, ridiculously in love with my coworker, Jake. Now, I know what you're thinking. Office crushes are a bad idea, and normally I'd agree. But Jake, he wasn't just any coworker. He was the guy. The kind of guy who had that natural charm, who made you feel like you were the only person in the room when he talked to you. He had this easy confidence, like he never had to try too hard, but not in an arrogant way. And the worst part? He was kind. Not just polite, genuinely kind. The kind of guy who remembered the smallest details, who noticed when you were having a bad day and made you laugh, who picked up your favorite snack without asking, just because he happened to see it and thought of you. So, yeah, I fell hard. We worked on a big campaign together, which meant long hours, countless strategy meetings, and inside jokes that started piling up like little secrets just between us. Somewhere along the way, the late night texts became more than just work. At first, they were about deadlines, then about random things, then full-blown conversations about music, life, childhood memories. I started waking up excited to check my phone, just to see his name there. And then, 2 weeks before Valentine's Day, he asked me out. We were in the break room, pretending to care about the office coffee when he just casually dropped, "So do you have any plans for Valentine's?" My brain went into full meltdown mode. Was this happening? Was he asking me? I forced myself to play it cool, shrugged, and said, "Not yet, why?" He grinned, that stupidly perfect grin that had probably charmed 100 girls before me. "Let me take you out." I swear, the world slowed down for a second. I tried to act casual, but inside, fireworks, absolute chaos. I said yes, obviously. The next 2 weeks were pure, torturous anticipation. He kept teasing me about a big surprise, dropping hints about a restaurant I'd love, even sending texts like, "Do I go classic suit and tie or do I aim for effortlessly cool? Red roses, cliche or classic?" He cared, or at least that's what it felt like. My friends at work were just as excited, telling me over and over, "He's totally into you. Guys don't put this much effort in unless they mean it." I believed them. I believed him. Then the night finally arrived. I spent way too much time picking out the perfect dress, something that struck the right balance between elegant and effortless. I redid my makeup twice. The whole time I felt that familiar, nervous, excited feeling in my chest, the kind that only comes when something feels like it could be life-changing. I arrived at the restaurant a few minutes early, heart pounding, looking around for him. And then I saw him sitting at a table with another girl. At first I thought maybe I had made a mistake. Maybe it wasn't him, maybe it was a coincidence. But then she reached across the table and took his hand, her fingers curling around his like it was the most natural thing in the world. He laughed, that same laugh I had memorized, the one that made his eyes crinkle just slightly at the corners. Then he leaned in, whispered something to her, and she smiled, like he had just told her the sweetest secret. Something inside me cracked. I just stood there, frozen, my stomach twisting in ways I didn't think were possible. My ears started ringing. My face felt hot, but my hands were ice cold. And then I saw it. The Valentine's Day card on the table, right between them. My breath caught in my throat. His handwriting was all over the front of it. That was it. That was the final blow. I didn't cry. I didn't storm over. I didn't cause a scene. I just turned around and walked straight out. I don't even remember how I got home. I must have driven, but it felt like my body was moving on autopilot while my brain shut down, replaying every moment, every text, every joke, every tiny little piece of hope I had built up over the last few weeks. Had I imagined everything? Had I misread all of it? Had I been nothing more than a joke to him? 2 days. That's how long it took him to text me. Hey, sorry about the other night. Didn't know how to tell you I wasn't serious about us. Hope you're cool. Cool? I stared at my screen, reading it over and over again as if there was some hidden meaning I was missing, as if those words would somehow rearrange themselves into an apology that actually meant something. I wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, to ask why he led me on, why he wasted my time, why he made me feel special when I was just another option he never planned to take seriously. But I didn't. I deleted his number, removed him from my life in every way possible. But the damage, that stayed. Now, Valentine's Day isn't about love. It's not about flowers or chocolates or grand gestures. Now, it's just a reminder that some people will let you believe in something beautiful just to rip it away when you least expect it.
I mean that's harsh.
That was brutal, dude. What the hell? And it's like, this is the second one that I've heard now that somebody's been like, well, now it's all ruined for me now, though.
Yeah.
You can't let that happen. You gotta
No.
keep your eye on the prize and understand what the deeper meaning is behind these holidays and everything, because
Exactly.
nobody should be able to take that kind of thing away from you. That's
No, you do not let somebody control you like that.
That was
brutal.
That was pretty brutal, man.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we have
Two more.
2 more left, and he's getting all cranky again. So.
All right.
I never thought I'd spend Valentine's Day like this, alone, half-heartedly scrolling through my phone like I was expecting a message that wasn't coming. The plan was supposed to be different. My best friend Mia had invited me over for a cozy movie night, blankets, wine, and way too much chocolate, after her date bailed on her last minute. We were supposed to laugh at bad rom-coms and pretend the holiday didn't exist. It was our tradition, something we always did when one of us ended up single on February 14th. But then, in a shocking and yet completely unsurprising turn of events, her ex had a sudden revelation about how much he truly loved her and wanted her back. And just like that, she was back in his arms, and I was back to square one, ditched for a guy who, let's be honest, was probably going to ghost her again in a month. So there I was, sitting in the corner of this quiet little cafe, picking at the chipped rim of my coffee cup, listening to the murmur of conversations around me. The place was warm, filled with the scent of espresso and something sweet, cinnamon maybe. I liked this cafe, even though I usually came here during the day when it was filled with students and remote workers, not couples feeding each other overpriced desserts. I should have left. I should have gone home, curled up under a blanket, and put on some comfort show that I'd already seen a dozen times. But for some reason, I stayed. Maybe it was the soft hum of jazz playing in the background. Maybe it was the way the city outside felt a little too cold and lonely tonight. Or maybe, deep down, I was waiting for my phone to light up. And then, as if the universe had a twisted sense of humor, it did. My phone vibrated, the small notification glowing against the dimly lit table. Unknown number. Hey, it's Jake. We matched on LoveLink last week. Mind if I join you? I frowned. Jake? The name sounded vaguely familiar, but no immediate face or conversation came to mind. I had swiped through so many profiles over the past few weeks that they had started blending together. There was a guy I thought with warm brown eyes and a nice, easygoing smile. Maybe that was him? But something was off. I didn't remember giving him my number. Me? How did you get my number? The response was immediate. Almost too fast. Jake, it was in your bio. Said you were looking for real connections. So I figured I'd take a shot. I blinked at my screen, that uneasy feeling creeping into my chest. That was a lie. I never put my number in my dating profile. I knew better than that. I reread the message, feeling the smallest prickle of doubt. Maybe I had given it to him. Maybe I'd been in a weird mood and had thrown caution to the wind. Maybe I just didn't remember. Or maybe I was overreacting. I hesitated for a moment, then typed back. I don't remember that, but sure, I'm at Cafe Verona. The second I hit send, I regretted it. I didn't even know why I said yes. Maybe because I was bored. Maybe because I felt a little pathetic sitting here alone, watching couples exchange little gifts and whispered promises. Or maybe because, deep down, I just wanted to believe that something good might actually happen tonight. I watched the entrance, my heart beat a little too fast for my liking. Less than 2 minutes later, the door chimed. A guy walked in, tall, confident, but casual, like someone who was used to making an entrance. His clothes were simple, a dark hoodie, fitted jeans, and a relaxed posture that made him seem approachable. His eyes flicked around the room until they landed on me, and he smiled. "Hi," he said smoothly, flashing a grin as he slid into the chair across from me. Not even a "may I sit here," just sat. "Hope I'm not crashing your solo date." His voice was warm, familiar, in that way some people's voices just are. Like someone you've met before but can't quite place. It should have put me at ease, but it didn't. I forced a polite smile. "Jake, right? That's me." He leaned forward, like we were already in the middle of a deep conversation. "Didn't expect to see you alone on Valentine's. A girl like you? I figured you'd have a line of guys waiting." I let out a short, dry laugh. "Yeah, well, plans fell through. Well, lucky me." His smile was friendly, but his eyes, they were watching me too closely, studying me. Something about it felt off. I shifted slightly, wrapping my hands around my coffee cup even though it had gone cold. "So, you said we matched last week?" "Yeah." He tilted his head, still watching me like he was sizing me up. "You swiped right on me, so I must be your type. What is your type, anyway?" His tone was playful, flirty even, but not in a natural way. More like he was trying to figure something out. I reached for my phone, considering a polite excuse to leave, and that's when I saw it. His hands, a small red mark just above his wrist, like a scratch or an imprint from something tight. My stomach flipped because I'd seen that mark before. A few days ago, I had been scrolling through LoveLink when a guy named Timothy_X messaged me. We'd chatted briefly before I got a weird gut feeling and unmatched him. But I remembered one of his photos. He had the exact same red mark on his wrist. I felt my pulse in my throat. Coincidence? Maybe. But my gut was screaming at me. I pushed my chair back and stood, forcing a casual smile. I just remembered I have to be somewhere. Jake's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. He tilted his head slightly, like he was studying me, calculating. "That's a shame," he murmured. "I was really hoping we could connect." His fingers tapped lightly against the table. I glanced down. His phone was open. The screen was lit up with an active chat window. My name was at the top. A sick, twisting feeling bloomed in my stomach. I turned and walked out, keeping my pace steady even though every instinct in me screamed to run. The second I hit the sidewalk, I pulled out my phone and blocked his number. My hands were shaking. I didn't know if I was overreacting or if I had just dodged something really bad. By the time I got home, my nerves had settled, just a little. Maybe I was being ridiculous. Maybe he was just socially awkward. Maybe I had built this whole thing up in my head. But later that night, as I was checking my door, triple checking the lock, my phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. "You looked even prettier in person." My breath caught. "Happy Valentine's Day. I'll see you soon." I didn't sleep that night.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's why with those, you really have to watch it. Like we've been saying, trust your gut. And now, hey Sancho, good to see you.
Hey,
We got
Sancho.
one story left. We got it's like 10 minutes more.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. You had any plans?
But yeah, you gotta you. It's like you don't want to be a cow about things. It's like I had like my suspicions when she said it's like, oh well, maybe I swiped through so many people that I just don't remember. It's like, well,
Yes,
that's kind of a red flag right there. Is that's like a modern woman thing to do.
it is.
But trust your gut instincts, and you know what? God damn it, get a dog. It's like, especially if you're a woman living alone. Like
Yeah.
these dogs are my ultimate security system. It's
When
like,
I'm gone, I have no worries because
no.
I know that nothing gets past them.
Number one, they're alerters, and number two, they're trained to take somebody out, and
Yeah.
will do so in a heartbeat if needed. So it's like, get a good dog, a good German Shepherd or something. Get a good dog.
Oh, and I know that we have a neighbor that'll take down anybody and anything that.
What, Nancy?
No. If I make a phone call.
I would be really worried about Nancy too. She's a crazy old bitch, dude.
Yeah. But I got one. If I made a phone call.
Yeah.
From where he lives, he could take out anybody that was on the property.
It's true. But usually you're there.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like,
working.
if I'm overnight somewhere or
Right,
something,
exactly.
which rarely happens, but
it's like, get security systems, get analog, we call it analog security cameras.
Yes.
Not digital, not anything that's run by Ring or that has some kind of connection to some sort of cloud anywhere, because they can get hacked so easily. And then also the law enforcement can actually use that against you. So
they can, yeah, and that's just it. That's what people don't understand, is once it goes on the cloud, it's public domain as far as the cops go, as far as CPS goes, as far as any of those entity goes. All they have to do is subpoena that, and they have it.
Yep.
Whereas if you have analog ones, it's a lot harder to
it's
get.
in your possession. It's
Yeah.
It's in your so get a damn dog, get analog security cameras.
Yes.
Make sure you know your house inside and out, and trust your gut instincts.
Yes.
You can't ever be too safe with
exactly
with people and everything. We live out in the middle of nowhere, so it's a little more secure.
Yes.
But
and then less secure in some ways.
It's true. It's true.
I mean,
it's a trade-off, I guess.
I mean, if anybody was watching, like a couple months back or so, we had that incident where the people were poaching on the land.
Right.
And I had to go. I had to go watch them, and
yeah, we had people across. It was even on a couple of our live streams.
Yeah.
We had a couple people that were like driving around in the field across from us and stuff, and standing in the middle of the road and stuff. Weird.
Yeah.
But we had the dogs, and we have a lot of dogs, so I really don't worry, because it's
No.
like, even if somebody, God forbid, shot the ones out there, there's another set ready to go inside.
Yeah.
And every last one of them is trained to go for the kill if needed.
And it's trained to protect us. They know.
They'll either subdue or they'll kill, depending on the situation. Get yourself some good shepherds.
Yes.
That's what I tell any woman living alone, is get yourself a good goddamn dog.
And we've tried to help people with that. And
well, they can't handle it,
Yep.
All right, last one.
Yep. Last one.
I've never been someone who goes overboard for Valentine's Day. Sure, I'll buy flowers, book a nice dinner, maybe write a sweet little note if I'm feeling extra thoughtful. But the whole over the top, rose petals on the bed, grand romantic gestures thing, not my style. This year, though, was different. I'd been seeing Sarah for about 3 months, and from the very beginning, she was unlike anyone I'd ever dated. She had this way of making small things feel magical. The way she'd get excited over handwritten letters, how she always found meaning in the little details. She loved everything about Valentine's Day: cheesy gifts, pink and red decorations, those ridiculous candy hearts with messages printed on them. And honestly, the way she talked about it, the way her eyes lit up, it made me want to make it special. So I planned something I'd never done before: a surprise weekend getaway at a small, secluded cabin just outside the city. Something intimate, cozy, a quiet place where we could have the weekend to ourselves. Away from work, away from everything. I put in the effort. I booked a place not through Airbnb or some major hotel chain, but through a small family-run rental site. The reviews all raved about it. A hidden gem, perfect for couples. romantic, and peaceful. I even mapped out the whole weekend, a homemade pasta dinner, a playlist of all the music Sarah loved, candles, wine, the whole thing. It was going to be perfect, or at least that's what I thought. We left Friday afternoon just as the sun was starting to dip. The drive itself was beautiful, long stretches of road cutting through snowy hills, the occasional glimpse of frozen rivers reflecting the golden light. Sarah was in a great mood, humming along to the music, laughing at my terrible attempts to sing. We talked about random things, her favorite Valentine's Day memories, how I had none to contribute, the absurdly overpriced heart-shaped trinkets we'd seen at the last gas station. The deeper we drove into the woods, the quieter everything became. The main highway faded behind us, replaced by narrower roads winding deeper into the trees. The branches hung heavy with snow, casting long, twisting shadows. I had expected to pass a few other cabins along the way, but, strangely, we didn't see any. No other cars, no signs of life, just us, the trees. By the time we pulled up to the cabin, the sun had fully set, leaving only the pale light of the moon reflecting off the snow. The place was charming in that rustic, old-world way. Wooden beams, a wraparound porch, a slanted roof weighed down by fresh snow. Beyond it, the frozen lake stretched out, covered in a thick sheet of ice. The air was still, almost too still. For a second, I just sat there, hands on the wheel, staring at the dark windows of the cabin. Something about it felt off, like we were intruding. But then Sarah let out a happy sigh. "It's perfect," she said, squeezing my hand. And just like that, the uneasy feeling disappeared, at least for a while. The moment we stepped inside, I noticed the first problem. It was cold, not just winter air cold, deep, bone-chilling cold. The kind that doesn't go away with a warm coat. The heating was technically on, humming through the vents, but no matter how much I fiddled with the thermostat, the cabin refused to warm up. The air felt stale, like it had been sitting untouched for months. I pulled out my phone to message the rental owner. No signal. Typical. Sarah, ever the optimist, wrapped herself in a blanket and flopped onto the couch. "Honestly, I kind of love it," she said with a grin. "It's like a survival adventure, but with wine." I laughed, shaking my head. "Yeah, well, if we have to start rationing food, I'm eating your chocolate stash first." That earned me a pillow to the face. I built a fire in the old stone fireplace, and within an hour, the place started to feel warmer. Between the flickering flames, the soft music from my phone, and the way Sarah curled up beside me on the couch, all my earlier weird feelings faded. For the first time, I felt like maybe this weekend really would be perfect. Then we heard the knock. It was soft, almost hesitant. Sarah froze, her wine glass halfway to her lips. I frowned, glancing at the door. "Did you hear?" Another knock. I stood up, peeking through the small window. Nothing, just the porch, the snow, and the dark woods beyond. "Probably just the wind," I said, though even I didn't believe it. Sarah nodded slowly but didn't look convinced. 15 minutes later, another knock. Same quiet, deliberate sound. My stomach tightened. The uneasy feeling was back, heavier this time. I checked again. Nothing. I made sure the door was locked and reassured Sarah it was probably just the old cabin settling. But I didn't sit back down because the knocking kept happening. Not often, not in a pattern, just every so often. A single, patient knock. Then silence. Sarah clutched her blanket tighter. "Maybe it's the owner checking in. We would have heard a car," I said. "And they'd call first, right?" She didn't answer. I grabbed my coat. There's only one way to find out. The moment I stepped outside, I regretted it. The cold was brutal, sharp against my skin. The porch creaked under my weight as I scanned the area. The trees stood silent, their branches heavy with snow. And then I saw it, a small, heart-shaped box of chocolates, sitting neatly on the porch. I hadn't put it there. My stomach dropped. I bent down, hesitating before picking it up. The box was unmarked, no note, just a simple red heart. Something told me not to open it, but I did. Inside, there weren't chocolates. There was a single crumpled photograph of me and Sarah, taken earlier that day. Sarah let out a sharp breath, covering her mouth. Before I could react, the knocking started again, louder, more insistent. I grabbed the fire poker, heart pounding, and yanked the door open. Nothing. Then, in the tree line, barely visible in the moonlight, a figure, standing perfectly still. watching. They didn't move. They didn't speak. They just stood there. That was it. I grabbed Sarah's hand. We ran. We didn't pack. We didn't look back. We jumped into the car, locked the doors, and tore out of there as fast as the icy road would allow. By the time we reached a spot with cell service, I called the owner. His response made my blood turn to ice. "You shouldn't have been there," he said, his voice tight. "That listing was taken down over a year ago. After what happened, I pressed for details. He refused to say more. To this day, I have no idea who left that box or how they got that picture of us. All I know is Valentine's Day will never feel the same again."
That. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was fun going over some of those Valentine's Day creepy.
Yeah, for sure. And given our little tidbits and everything.
Yes.
Again, those people decided to go and leave in the middle of the night, driving hell bent on an icy road in
Yes.
an area that they don't know.
I know, and
so
again, it
dangerous.
could have been a ghost.
Could have been. Could have been. But anyway, check out the comments throughout this, and let us know. Answer those things.
Answer what we had asked earlier.
What else? Yeah, we have a what do you call this thing?
Microphone.
Yes, we have a new microphone.
This is
so, up there.
Yeah. This is the new microphone we are using.
It wasn't working for Guru, so we took it and started using it, and I totally forgot about it last time.
Yeah, we forgot to put it back with everything, so we're trying to make it a part of the new setup so that it's a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, let us know about your Valentine's Day stories. What was your most memorable place that you went to, your most memorable gift, whether it was good or bad or whatever. And check out my short about the origins of Valentine's Day. It is not a pagan holiday. It's a very, very Christian holiday. So don't feel bad about celebrating it if you're Christian, because it's a really good story.
It is, for sure. And thank you for all the information, and I enjoyed listening.
That's what I do.
Thank you, Sancho, for joining us.
Yeah. Have a happy Valentine's Day to you as well.
Yeah, hope you got to at least enjoy it a little bit. Maybe with somebody special, or just by yourself, even, because make yourself your own Valentine.
Exactly. Celebrate love in all of its purest forms, and
Yes.
Keep on keeping on.
Namaste, ladies and gentlemen.
Happy Valentine's Day.
You guys heard it first from Guru.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yay.
All right.
Namaste, and we'll be on the realm here in just a little bit. Sancho, if you want to join.
Otherwise, we'll be back on
Wednesday. Yep.
Namaste. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Enjoy your weekend. Have a great weekend, everyone.